Great. You want to kick us off by telling us your name and talking about where you're living?
So my name is Darius. Actually, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina right now.
Nice. And what about your experience in Charlotte made you want to do this interview?
Um, I've lived a few different places in my adult life now. So Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville, Kentucky, Atlanta, Georgia, and now Charlotte, all ranging from basically the age of like 29 to 33. And I use best places a lot. It kind of helped me decide on moving a few different places. Um, I actually have gone through and like read the reviews of people who live in the cities to kind of get a feel for what it was like before I went. So I figured why not? Maybe it would help somebody else.
Nice. What are some things about Charlotte that you really like?
Um, I think that Charlotte offers uh, a fair amount of entertainment for the size of the city. But the city is manageable in size. If you wanted to go to do like a few different events in a single day, you could. If you wanted to go to an art museum, then a football game, and then maybe whitewater rafting. So uh, there's a variety of like entertainment options kind of at your disposal here.
Nice. On the flip side, are there some other things that maybe you would change or you wish were different?
Um, I have a lot of strong opinions about things. I, I I I don't know. I don't think so really. I enjoy like again a variety of activities. So maybe if there were more uh things kind of like artistically inclined, like plays and art events and musicals and things in the art realm, I would enjoy that probably.
Nice. Do you have any, if somebody was going to come visit you for a day, do you have any like local things you would take them to see or you would recommend someone go visit?
Um Charlotte being new, I there's like not an I guess one of the I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's an older city. Um, Not that it's like super cool, but it's an older city. And then I've also lived in Atlanta, which is like it's an older city, but it's becoming newer. And um, there's definitely like a distinct kind of personality about Atlanta. um like there's a culture in Atlanta that you can get a strong feel for, and there's not really a strong cultural vibe in Charlotte because it is very new. It's still very transplanty. um so like there's nothing in particular that's like I have a lot of family that lives in Atlanta, and the way that like I would describe it is like Atlanta is like your tumultuous college romance that's like super fun and it's up and down and it's wild and it's a whirlwind and everything's new and it's exciting. But then like Charlotte is who you like marry because it's kind of like predictable. So there's nothing that's like jumps out in Charlotte that's like this is the one thing you have to do. But I can't necessarily say that there are any drawbacks to Charlotte. Whereas Atlanta, there are like some unique things that are very unique to Atlanta that I would be like, you have to check this out, you have to check this out, you have to check this out. But you're going to deal with these headaches along the way.
Nice. I
Sorry, that
think
was long winded.
no, that's a great answer. That's I think very helpful. So you lived in a couple of different places. What do you think like the biggest move was, like the biggest shift that you had?
Um, the biggest shift was definitely moving to in like a year time period, year and a half time period. I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati, and then ultimately landed in Atlanta. Um, And I think Atlanta was the biggest kind of shift because the Midwest and Louisville, it's kind of like it doesn't have a very like again, it doesn't have like a super strong cultural vibe. And Atlanta has it's influenced by so many cultures because uh it's a transplant hub. It's an international transplant hub. So there are like a lot of different cultures that are there. But underlyingly, it's still like a strong local and native culture of Atlanteans who were born there and raised there and kind of never left there. And Charlotte doesn't really have that like local culture. So it's still kind of finding its identity, and the identity is being shaped really strongly by the people, the transplants, whereas Atlanta kind of has an established culture, and the transplants kind of either integrate into it or live amongst it but stay separate. Um, and so that was weird for me moving to Atlanta. Um, because the way I would describe it is like Atlanta is super diverse, but it's still very southern and segregated. So like you'll go into a restaurant and like there could be realistically 6 or 7 countries and nationalities represented in that restaurant, but and they'll all be in the same restaurant, but they'll all be at the same table with their own culture. Um, and I didn't necessarily expect that being so big and kind of a progressive city. And I think Charlotte is a little less like that than Atlanta is, but it's not as many cultures represented, but they're a little more integrated.
Nice. That's nice. That's good to know. Do you have any advice or anything for people that might be moving to your area in the near future?
Um, I think the bit of it like I think the bit of advice I would give for moving to Charlotte is that there isn't is that everything the majority of things that you would want to do or see or explore like within the city. And outside of that it's pretty desolate and like isolated suburbs. So unless you live within like basically 15 minutes of the city, you're going to get bored really, really quick. And Atlanta is big enough and it's sprawled enough that like you could live 20 minutes outside the city and there's still a fair amount of stuff to do in your area. But it's so hard to get around that you're never going to go explore any other areas. So again, kind of how I made the point in Charlotte, like I live basically in the city, so I can get to all the kind of populated happening areas in a single day if I wanted to make a day of it and bar hop, brewery hop, do a bunch of different things. In Atlanta, you kind of have to pick which area you want to go to for that day and then make arrangements because it's going to take you 45 minutes to get there and back. So it's not an easy it takes some logistics to kind of navigate Atlanta and Charlotte. You can move pretty freely, but unless you live in the city, there's not much else.
Nice. All right. Those were about all my questions for today. Thank you so much for being here. Do you have anything else you want to share before we sign off?
I don't.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to me today. It was great to meet you.
Thanks, Alex.
Yep. Bye. Have a great day.